Hello, technician. How are you?
Oh,
Oh, I'm good, thank you.
All right.
all right. Hello, I'm Gary Ambrose, a retired U.S. Air Force pilot and the board vice president of Operation Veteran Success, a nonprofit whose mission is to provide emergency gap funding in the form of grants, often on short notice, for U.S. military veterans in need and their families. These grants are principally targeted at housing-related needs. That mission is accomplished by more than 75 volunteers whose efforts have enabled us to date to target 100% of donations we've received to veterans and their families. Our inspiration is simple. It's the great men and women who defend our country in the U.S. military services. In tribute to those heroes, we're conducting a series of interviews about their service. We post those interviews to the Our Inspiration page on the OVS website at www.opvetsuccess.org. Today, we're honoring one of those patriots, Army Chief Warrant Officer retired Brian L. Beatty, whose diverse 27-year Army career included service in 147 countries on active duty with the Army Reserves and with the Illinois Army National Guard. So, Brian, what was your motivation to enlist in the U.S. Army?
Well, see, now that's an interesting question because actually, a lot of my family has been in the military, and the majority have been officers. But when I was at Liberty in seminary, one of my professors said, if there's anything else in the world you want to do, anything else you can think of, go do it. So I left to go and I wound up joining the military. I thought I was going to join the army for like 2 years, 2.5 years, then come out and do the rest of the world. They were like that. Little did I know that that 2.5 years would be 25 years later, I would be leaving the military. So, yes.
Well, I think a lot of people share your experience with that. When I went through ROTC, and when I went into service, I planned to go in for 4 years and come out and do something else. And that's just not how it worked out. I was getting out of the Air Force for 27 years, as it turned out. Uh, what all did you do for Uncle Sam during your Army career? What was your specialties?
I went in communications. One of my uncles was a good friend of mine. He said, you need to do something that will be useful for you when you get out. So looking at all different things and stuff like that, I leaned towards and started on communications because before then I had been, doing computers and playing with things in my on my spare time. I hacked into the Pentagon when I was young after I built my own computer, and my uncle said you shouldn't do that. But then I knew that I liked computers, and partly when I went to school was for seminary, but the other part was for computer science. So I decided to do something along that area. But of course, as things evolved, things change. Uncle Sam evolved and changed. And so in the early 90s, um, I got rebranded over to do, uh, which is now IT field and things of that nature. And then after I left as being a drill sergeant, I mainly was focused on doing those things. And of course, as I became a warrant officer, I went into the information systems side of it. So doing a lot of things on the information side of it. So uh, I've been when an interesting story when I got from basic training and we went to advanced school at Fort Gordon. They said they gathered all us together. They said, "Does anybody want to go to airborne school?" I said, "I'm gonna jump out of a plane. You gonna pay me?" They said, "Yes." I said, "Okay, I go." So then I went to airborne school. And then after airborne school, they said, "Anybody want to go to Ranger school?" I said, "Okay, I go." So then I went to Ranger school. At the Ranger school, they said, "Anybody want to go to cyber school?" I said, "Send me back to Fort Gordon." So I
Wow.
went back to Fort Gordon and got through my advanced school and moved on from there.
Well, you certainly have had a diverse career. An IT guy, an airborne guy, and a ranger. Holy cow! But
Airborne Ranger, drill sergeant, recruiter. I've done a lot of things for the military over my 27 years.
well, you sure have. Well, in our email exchanges and in our brief phone conversation, I noted that you were active also in the Veterans of Foreign Wars. Can you tell us about your role there?
Yes, I am right now for the VFW. I have a dual role. So I'm the commander of my post. So I do a lot of things on that side. But I'm also the senior vice commander for the fourth district, which is the next level up. So for the VFW, you have your post, which is local area. Then you have districts, which your state is broken into different districts. Then you have your state or department level, and then it's national. So I am right below the state as a senior vice commander for the fourth district here in Illinois.
Wow. Well, that's great. That's great. You've certainly kept your hand in things, military since you retired, and that's tremendous. Well, what important lessons learned did you take away from your time in the service?
Oh, that's a wide variety of a range of it. And I will give it to you in this prime example. When I was a drill sergeant, I used to tell the troops that were under me, I said, the sooner you work together, the less then we'll be on you and train on you, because the military is a team concept. People don't realize that the more you work as a team, the more you understand what you're doing. So we don't think when we think of one, we think of one unit, not one individual. So that's one of the instant lessons that you learn from the military. Another is the job, the job ends when the job is finished. And that's what a lot of people, I guess, really don't understand is they think that, oh, well, okay, my time ends because this is time on the clock. No, that's not the way it is.
We wish.
Your job ends when the job is finished.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time in Iraq, my first 4.5 months, I never got a day off because we were building, moving, training, moving, jumping, everything like that. So it wasn't until about 4.5 months later that we actually got a day off. So again, the job ends when the job is finished.
Yeah.
And you understand another thing that the military teaches people that a lot of people don't understand is personal responsibility. You have to understand that the things that you're responsible for are the things that you're responsible for. And that doesn't change no matter what level that you're doing. As a prime example, when I was attached to the 416 running the Army's network, we had units that were in combat. So Microsoft decided that they wanted to move out of the Windows 7 environment and move over to the Windows 10 environment. When they wanted Windows 8 and Windows 10. And I told them, I said, you're not going to do that until these people come out of theater, because they're using this platform, there's Windows 7. And they were like, well, we're not going to support that. I was like, okay. And I told them, I said, okay, this phone right here leads to my boss, which is a four-star general. And so you talk to him. He's like, well, we're going to do this because, we're Microsoft. So we got on the phone, general was talking to them. He's like, no, you will do this. And they were like, no, we're not going to do this. And he said, okay, well, my phone goes right directly to President Obama. Do you want to tell him that you're going to put the lives of service members in danger because you don't want to support it? Okay, we'll support it. And so they had to support it, understanding that, again, personal responsibility. You have to make sure that the people who serve under you, the people you support, are taken care of, as well as those who you work with, and also that you personally have personal responsibilities of things that you have to do and need to do.
Yeah, it's all part of the being part of something bigger than yourself, and it's
Absolutely.
a great lesson learned for sure. Well, in your 147 countries that you visited, one of them you didn't visit. You actually stayed here and helped out with Hurricane Katrina. Can you tell us some about that?
Yes. Uh, this is not too long after I got back from Iraq. The military attached a group of us to go to evaluate units that were going overseas. So we went down to Camp Shelby, which is in Mississippi, and we were there. During that time, Katrina had hit, and President Bush tasked General Honore with overseeing what was going on in Katrina. So he came over to Shelby, and he told all of us, right now you're not going to be evaluating units. You're going down here to help us manage Katrina. So we all did that, and he I was his driver when I was in Korea. He also was. We've had a long history and everything like that. So he attached me to working with him, and my responsibility was to make sure that he did not curse on TV. If you've ever been around General Honore, he's from Louisiana, so he's a very flamboyant mouth, and the president did not want him to curse on TV because he'll automatically just go off on a tangent and also like that. So my job when that was happening was to go when he would start up, I go. So if you ever watch the videos of him doing conversations and talking on TV, we used to hear him start to to get more active. You hear it, and that was me doing that. Also, the interesting thing is we had a conversation one time, and General Honore is a person who, in the morning, get his coffee. You don't mess with him. You don't talk to him anything until after he's had his coffee. So we were talking one day, and then he said, the United States military is the most efficient fighting force in the world. But if you ever want to stop the United States military, cut off their coffee supply.
There you go. That's important. I always used to marvel at the coffee the Navy guys drank. You know, you could eat it with a fork. It was so potent. But so you were for General Honore, you were the chief decorum officer, huh?
I guess that's what it was. It was an unofficial title, but that's what it was.
Yeah. Well, you've certainly done many things. You know, you've been, as I said earlier, airborne, a ranger, an IT guy, chief decorum officer, and you also helped out at Arlington National Cemetery with the
Yes.
unknowns. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. So when I finished advanced school, for some weird reason, they sent me to Fort Meade, Maryland. So I get to Fort Meade, and I'm like, okay, I'm ripping ready to go and everything. Because I really didn't know much about Fort Meade, and they were like, oh no 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 no, we don't do that here. This is the type of place. This is a place where when I got there, they had a glass case. They pressed a button to show me what my weapon was, and then sent it back. And they said, well, you'll probably never use it, and everything like that. So I wound up becoming the general driver for the install commander for the military, 4-star general. Well, doing that job is an interesting job, but what it comes along with is a lot of different attachable jobs. So one of them was doing the PDB, which is Presidential Daily Brief. So I would take the Presidential Daily Brief to pick up everything and take it to the White House. And the first time I walked into the White House and put the PDB on the president's desk, I turn around, out comes President Reagan. Immediately snapped to attention. Boom, okay, I'm here. Yes, sir, that's it. Because, it's President of the United States. So he asked me what my name was. I'm like, Sergeant Beatty. He's like, no, what's your name? And so I told him Brian, everything like that. And every time I dropped off that brief, everything I told him about, he remembered. This is a president of the United States, but he remembered everything about my family, my mother. He actually sent my mother. My mother's working at the FBI. She's working at the Hooverville, Hoover Building. He sent her a happy birthday card. The
Wow.
president of the United States sent her a happy birthday card on her birthday. Drove the whole office crazy. Like, what in the world is going on? How she know that and everything like that? So that was one of the details I had. Also had White House duty, so we would be on the rooftops to make sure that no one attacked the White House. So if you ever look at the White House on any intense basis, you'll see that people up top, there's snipers who are there to make sure that people don't attack the White House from a distance and everything like that. Another job I had was I was attached to Third Army, which does the military services for Arlington National Cemetery. So we go through the whole process of doing military funerals. Well, one day I was coming back after we had finished a funeral, and this person who was doing the Tomb of the Unknowns, that person had gotten sick, so they had to get somebody else in there. So they're like, okay, look, in order to do the tomb, you have to be at least 6 feet tall. So I'm already I'm 6'4" so it's easy. And for me, and also I'm already in my dress uniform. So we go and I take this person's place for 15 minutes. I walked the tomb of the unknown until the replacement got there.
Wow.
And I think it was probably one of the biggest honors that I ever had, that I got a
Yes.
chance to walk back and forth guarding the tomb for 15 minutes before I got relieved, and the person who was taking over for that shift came up.
Yeah, that is a very sobering monument over there, and
Oh yeah,
I love
and,
going there to watch the changing of the guard and all that. It's a great
and
place.
it's interesting because there are only 3 days that we don't have funerals. Well, actually four. Uh, no, think about five. So the Thursday before Memorial Day, we don't have funerals because everybody who's attached to Arlington, and we've never had anybody who took off on that date. Everybody who works at Arlington is always there. And that Thursday before Memorial Day, we go and flag the graves. So every grave in Arlington is flagged the Thursday before Memorial Day. So
Mhm.
we don't have a funeral on that Thursday. We don't have a funeral on Memorial Day. We don't have a funeral on the 4th of July. We don't have a funeral the Tuesday after Memorial Day, because I mean Tuesday after Veterans Day, because Veterans Day is the other day we don't do funerals. The Tuesday after is when we pick up all the flags. So those 2 days, everybody in Arlington is there. Nobody has ever taken off. And the interesting thing about Arlington Cemetery is the Tomb of the Unknown has never been unguarded the whole time it's been set up. I don't care what the weather is. I don't care what's happening. I remember there was a snowstorm, and President Reagan was like, "No, you don't have to guard the tomb with this thing." And they told him, "No disrespect, Mr. President, but this tomb will not be unguarded.
Mhm.
Never, never break."
That's wonderful. That's great. Well, you truly have had a remarkable career in military, and it's great to see you staying linked into the military through the VFW. You
VFW,
should
American Legion, and vets, all those.
all those, and you should definitely. And I'm serious. You should write a book, a memoir of your
Everybody keeps
experience.
saying that. I am just a little peon. Now I've been around a lot of very important, interesting people, but no one knows about me. No one needs to know about me. I'm not the center of things. Now, if you want to talk about my military godfather, President General Powell, he was an important person. Uh, I'm not. I'm just a person who was NCO, became E7, went over, became a warrant officer, and then retired But those are the people who books should be written about, not me. Now, if I wrote a book about the people that I know, that'd be a different story. But you know, it's
Well,
just a little airborne ranger who got a chance to be around some very influential people on my time in service.
but it's in my experience, it's no accident that you get those kinds of opportunities because there was something about your service that set you apart, and people notice that. And one of the great talents of great men like Colin Powell is they know good people when they see them, and they hire smart people, and it helps them to succeed. And so I think you shouldn't underestimate the impact that you had in those places with those people. So we're probably about ready to run out of our time block here, but I did want to ask you one more question, and if you need to think about this for a second or two, that's fine. What about military service impacted your life the most?
I would say the thing that impacted my life about the most about the military is giving me a truer appreciation for the United States military and what we do. Um, this is probably not a story that people think about, but after I got back and I was serving I was serving as we finished our time with doing, in processing units and stuff like that. Before I became a warrant officer, I was working, on the military's networks and things of that nature. So I got attached to Fort Sheridan to run their network because I was active duty. You need somebody who's going to be there all the time and things of that nature. And so I got together with my troops to talk to them because I was trying to lay out my vision of what it was and how I was going to run the signal shop. And when I came out of the shop, when we came out of the Walker Brothers was a breakfast place, this woman threw some red paint on me. And I'm glad I was the first one out the door. So she threw it on me. And so I had all this red paint on me, and I was ready to, the first thing I thought was really to attack her and everything like that. But I'm like, I'm out here on the street. The next thing I know, I'll be all over the news, be all over the paper. Sergeant United States Army punches out a woman. No one saw the red paint that she threw on me, but it was in that. And so I stopped my troops. I told them to go to their cars and everything like that. The people that were around started jumping on her, like, "Why did you do that? Why are you doing all sorts?" She said, "They're baby killers. They're over in Iraq killing people, and all sorts of that, and all sorts of that." And so the people got mad at her. The good thing is, the majority of it got on my cover, so I was able to take my cover off, flip it over, and put it on my seat. And when I drove back to the unit, the one thing that I learned being a drill sergeant and doing most things in the military is you always have spare uniforms wherever you at. So I had to put on a spare uniform, and I had to get another. One thing I really had to do is get another pair of boots because some of the paint got on my boots and I couldn't get it off the boots because those are the new combat boots instead of leather ones. And that was easy. I had another pair at home, so I got those when I got back home. But I was able to change my uniform. But understanding the military, understanding being in combat zones and being overseas and being also like that, the beauties and understandings that we have here in the United States, and how important it is that this nation be protected and defended is probably the greatest thought and inspiration I've ever gotten out of the military.
Well, you inspire me to the end here. I'll tell you, you've had a great career, and you've done great things for the country. And I thank you for your service. And
It's an honor to serve.
thank you for this interview. It's been a real pleasure and an honor for me to have the opportunity to talk with you.
Mhm.
So have a good day.
All right, thank you, Gary. You too.
Bye-bye.
It was nice to meet you.
It was nice to meet you also.
Have a great day.
You too.
All right. Okay, good job.